I am deeply privileged and honored to have been asked to kickstart this lecture series organized by St. George's. Especially when we know that our country is filled with many old boys from St. George's who hold massive positions in all aspects of Jamaican society. And it's a very special moment for me personally. I met some sixth formers at Cafe Blue a few weeks ago, and I must say I was so impressed with the intellect, the humility, the self-confidence of these students. And in fact, all of them knew what their career paths were going to be, which I found shocking. They knew what they wanted to be, and they knew the path that they wanted to go down. I think when you think about 175 years, what jumps out to me at that is leadership. It's clear that I've gotten results at St. George's over 175 years is a clear indication of the quality of leadership that this institution has delivered. And I want to salute you, St. George's, to say, as a nation, you have done an immense job in producing quality leadership. The second thing that jumps out at me is one of the pillars that as a company has been very, very important to us. And that is the concept of team. Team. St. George's could never achieve what it has achieved unless it had an amazing team of people. I could not have had any measure of success that I have had if it wasn't for the team that operates Coffee Traders. Starting with our chairman, Richard Sharp, who has built an amazing foundation, and then my wife, Jackie, sitting in the audience, who joined us later with 20 years of banking experience, who came to our company and fortified our accounting systems and financial systems and administration that allowed me the ability to build out the platforms and diversify our business. And of course, the numerous other team members within our company that bring the kind of passion and dedication and hard work that is required to build a company of the size that we have been able to build. In the end, I play a very small role in that success. You can't build anything of scale by yourself. I've read in the news where it says Jason Sharp did this and he did this. No. It was done by a team of people. I'm only a part of that team. I came to St. George's back in the 80s to watch a Manning Cup match. I suppose St. George's is still winning Manning Cups. I knew from then, and I saw it again on Friday, that there is a team atmosphere that exists on this campus. Again, I have to salute St. George's because one big baller can win a match, but it takes a team to win trophies. That is something special about St. George's, something that you have learned, and something that you must carry forward with you in your future endeavors. I have the privilege of going to Japan every couple of years to promote coffee and to meet with our customers. I'm always fascinated about Japan. A country of 120 million people that delivered the second largest economy in the world. Japan is never about the individual. It's always about team. How do we make tomorrow 0.5% better than it was today as a team? And you see it in how the society operates. The discipline, the order, the respect, the humility, but also the excellence. Jamaica needs that. And as you propel forward, remember, do it together as a team. Do it like how you do it in the Manning Cup. The goalkeeper, the defense, the midfield, the strikers, they're different players. They bring different attributes. But together, they work for one objective, to win. Make no mistake. Business or any other enterprise that you go into is about winning. I just saw two cameramen fighting over who made the first picture, right? Because they have to go back to their enterprises and deliver. Everything that you do when you go into the working world, you have to win. And you have to be prepared. Today, I want to enforce to you the importance of being ready to win. Because when you are not winning, somebody else is. The global marketplace is very competitive and every day it gets more competitive. My family is a family from agricultural backgrounds. My great-grandfather worked in the sugar industry. My grandfather was a banana man in Portland. My father had a horticultural farm in St. Thomas. And my brother started growing coffee in the Blue Mountains. I grew up at the dining table talking about agriculture. And my father reinforced in my head from a very young age. He said, son, produce something of excellence. That rings in my ears, and it became a part of me. Produce something. And if you produce it to the best of your ability, then that's excellent. That's your excellence. But produce something. In your lifetime, produce something. It doesn't mean you're going to produce a particular part, a body of work. Whatever you do, produce something of excellence. When I was very young, I knew I wanted to go and work with my father. I did not focus sufficiently in school. I figured my path was laid out for me. I knew what I wanted to do. School was not so important. I just had to pass the grades to move to the next level. I went to university, same thing. If I can pass the course, move on to the following year, I'm good. I just want to graduate, I just want to get home. Well, during my years in college, I want to say it was my third year, Jamaica experienced the most devastating storm in its history in 1988, Hurricane Gilbert. All the storms combined, in my opinion, have not delivered the level of devastation as Gilbert. Our farm in St. Thomas, 30 acres of greenhouse, flattened. All the plants were dead. We had no business. In those days, we couldn't get insurance in agriculture. Almost overnight, we were at zero. Here I was thinking, my path was already laid out. I knew what I wanted to do. I'm going to have business and I'll be successful. No. Overnight. I had to stay back from school and work with my father to rebuild this farm. With my brother. That was an eye-opener. Working in agriculture in Jamaica, when you are responsible, is a whole different kettle of fish. We rebuilt about 50% of capacity. I went back to school to finish my degree. I went from a C student to an A student almost overnight. Everything mattered at that point. I realized I was behind the 8 ball. And I came home aggressively to make the business profitable again. By the time I got home, we found ourselves in a precarious situation. Other horticultural operations in Central America and South America had taken the market. Their governments were focused on production. Their governments were keyed into what was required for the economies to grow, and they were subsidizing or incentivizing their producers. I felt that in Jamaica, the opposite was happening. Interest rates were through the roof, price of goods went up every day. The labor unions forcing to pay more money because, of course, inflation is flying through the door. So you're under pressure. Very quickly, I realized this business is no longer viable. We no longer have the scale, and the margin is gone. And it wasn't going to work. By 1996, we had to lock the gate. But here's the challenging part. I had no plan B. I had a degree in biology, not much use. All of my chips were laid into this company. And this company was no longer viable. Remember, ready yourself. There is no road of guarantee for you out there. You have to blaze your own road. And the readier you are, the better you will be. I went into some entrepreneurial businesses, some successful, some not as successful. But this is what started to mold me into the businessman I became. The hard knocks. Understanding what happens on the ground. I got an offer to assist a coffee company who was going through a transition of leadership. And they asked me if I would spend 3 months to level it off and do a transition. I said, sure. I had been in coffee through my brother who was growing at this time, expanding his farm in the Blue Mountains. And I had grown up on a coffee farm, more or less. I knew something about growing coffee. I went into this job knowing it was only for 3 months. But I went in there, like everything else at this time, 100% committed. 100% committed. If it's only 3 months, I'll make it the greatest 3 months these people have ever seen. I jumped in there and I learned everything I could about coffee. And I realized the coffee business was much more than just delivering cherry coffee to a depot. In those days, farmers, they carried their coffee, the cherry coffee, and they delivered to a depot, and the buyer buys it there. I learned about the green bean trade. I learned how Japanese do business because they're a major market. And I started to learn the coffee business. As my brother was growing his production side and starting to buy coffee from larger farmers and starting to value add, we saw where both of us could add value. Every partnership must bring value. If you're going into a family business, it's not to provide something for a family member. Everybody must bring their expertise and quality to the table. We saw where that potential was, and we formed a company together. This was the birth of Coffee Traders. He had started shipping coffee to a company in Japan. And my first year, we continued this relationship. It was a small volume of coffee, but we delivered on time. We delivered quality. We gave great service, and we honored our commitments with integrity. The Japanese and their culture respected that. And they saw those qualities in us. And they said, can you give us more coffee? At that time, coffee industry had many big players, strong players, players with 50, 75 years more experience than us. They had better infrastructure. They were dominant. We need a strong strategy if we were going to be competitive. The first thing we did was we asked the Japanese, will you support us on this strategy? They said yes. They said yes because integrity, service, quality. You have to deliver. We went to the farmers, and the farmers said to us, we will sell you our coffee, but we need to be paid faster. In those days, farmers were paid 1/3 of the value of the box 1 week after delivery, another third 2 months later, and then another third 9 months later. They call that bonus. Right, Mr. Swift? Remember those days? Thank you. Bonus 9 months later. Farmers say, we don't want a bonus. We want our money now. You have to listen to your customer. Your customer is king. Everything that we have ever done has been customer-centric. They are the ones who manage our business. Tell us where we're going wrong, where we need to improve, what we need to do better. We listen and we respond. The farmer say we want money faster. My brother said to me, Jason, they want a full payment in 1 week. Make it happen. Sat down, created a team. Okay, that's it done. Pay the farmers. They started to deliver to us. They started to appreciate the efficiency that we were giving them, and they knew they could trust us to get their money. But you know, competition doesn't sit down there and watch you win. The big boys reacted, and they delivered the same service. Several months later, our brother came back to me and said, Jason, farmer wants to be paid in 3 days. I said, what? He said, 3 days, make it happen. That was a tough one. In those days, we had a small little house as our office. I converted the dining room into an accounts room, and we call it the Oracle. And the people that worked in the Oracle worked 12-hour shifts every single day. 12 hours on, 12 hours on. Any time of day you went to the Oracle, people were working in there. People were ensuring that farmers were being paid. because we knew at the heart of our business was the coffee farmer, and we had to ensure that they were happy. The Oracle delivered. Farmers were happy. They started to deliver coffee in droves. We were eating market share. But the big boy reacted again. And several months later, my brother came back to me and said, Jason, one day, the farmer wanted money the next day. I said, Richard, that's not possible. He said, you want the coffee? I said, yes. He said, make it happen. I had no clue how I was going to make it happen. Because you're talking about volumes of cash that you have to package, send out in different formats all over the Blue Mountain range. I didn't see how it was possible. Again, I was back in a corner and I had to find a solution. We hired some software technicians. We built a system. My brother came up with some ideas about doing payment centers in the Blue Mountains, like small corner shops or groceries who had cash sitting down and they want to get rid of the cash. So we said to them, let's put a system in your operation. We'll transfer digital information and you can pay the farmer for us. The farmer can go to your location and get his payment. And we executed it perfectly. Win. Game over. Farmers shifted. They were getting what they wanted. Right, Mr. Face? Or you don't remember that? You do remember. Okay, good. What won? Service. We became #1 producer in a couple of years just by listening to the customer and delivering what they wanted. But it wasn't just the farmer, it was the market. Very quickly, our company developed a reputation of being one that always delivered on time. Always delivered on time, highest quality. When your customer call you, him call you to tell you hello. Him not call you to say him getting a bad coffee. Him call to ask you how's your family. Him not call you to ask you how much defect in the coffee. Him not call you to ask you why you deliver late. You're building relationships and integrity. And buyers started to shift the coffee traders. But you know, the competition learned from that. They learned quickly. The buyers who were buying from the other competitors started to tell them, guys, what's going on here? Coffee traders do it, what happened to you? They lifted their games. We realized that ultimately, the only thing that would keep the farmer selling to you was if you could pay him the best price. And how do you do that? How do you pay the farmer the best price? You have to be the most efficient. You have to work the hardest. It might seem cliche, but you have to work the hardest. You have to add value to your product. You have to be innovative. We knew we had to roast coffee and add greater value to it. Again, there were a lot of other players. Like I said, 50, 75 years more experience, deep market share. Go to the supermarket and the owner tells you, you don't want your coffee. You have 10 people knocking on your door to sell you coffee, you don't want a coffee. So where am I going to sell this coffee? I realized that the opportunity was in the hospitality sector. The hotel growth was significant, and I saw these functionalities in that sector, and I knew that's where the volumes were. The margins were less, but the volumes were there. I knew that they wanted training. I knew they wanted great equipment. I knew they wanted great service. I created a team. We moved offices. I built a roasting plant. I trained a factory team. We improved our quality department and purpose. And we developed a structure that readied ourselves. Because when you go to a hotel and you say to them, I want your business, they want to know, can you deliver? Can you deliver every week? Can you deliver every week? Same quality every time. When I looked around at the landscape of the hotel sector, I saw one company, one brand that I thought I could break into if I had a good pitch. That was Sandals. It was owned by a Jamaican, and they had a culture of developing Jamaican products, goods and services in their hotel. That was what differentiated them from the rest. At the time, there was a young man in Sandals working there, the son of the chairman, who was very innovative, focusing on customer experience. And I knew if I could speak to him about the subject, I could sell him on becoming his supplier. When I felt that the model was ready, I reached out to him. I said, Adam Stewart. I said, Adam, I want to talk to you about your coffee program. He said, Jason, I'm in a management meeting right now with all of the heads of hotels, and coffee just came up. I need to see it right now. I was so excited. I was so excited. I said, this is my chance. This is my breakthrough moment. But Sanders' head office was in Montego Bay. I was in Kingston. I said, it was 10 o'clock. I said, I can be there at 2 o'clock. Those days, there was no North-South highway. I would drive Mount Nassau. Take it 2 hours to get to Montreal, 2 hours to Mobay. I raced. I didn't even tell anybody in the office I was leaving. I jumped in my car and I took off. This was a defining moment, and I had to take it with both hands. I got to Sandals 10 minutes early. I walked in confident. When I got there, the receptionist said to me, Mr. Stewart not here. I said, what? So Mr. Stewart in Kingston, a management meeting. I had just raced to Montego Bay to see him, thinking he was in Montego Bay at the head office. He was right next door in Kingston. Anyway, we had a call, we had a laugh. He said, listen, the managers are leaving, but I'll give you 5 minutes tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Perfect. Next morning I went to the office. He came outside, and I could see he was in between meetings and under a lot of pressure. But I was going to hold him for my 5 minutes. This was my chance. And I knew that. Before I could utter a word, he said to me, Jason, I need a consistent coffee product right through our hotel chains in Jamaica. I want consistent delivery, high quality coffee, fix the machine program, train my staff, serve a world-class product to my customers. Can you do that? I said, yes, sir. He said, you get one shot. You get one shot. He said, in 1 month, we will roll you out. One mistake, we'll find somebody else. One shot. But you know what? I was ready, prepared. I wasn't going in there not knowing I couldn't deliver. 20 years later, we are still the exclusive supplier to Sandals Resorts, not just in Jamaica, but all across the Caribbean. Thank you.
And not only are we the largest exporter of green coffee, we are the largest exporter of roasted coffee in the English-speaking Caribbean. But again, even with that, we still had very strong competition. Remember, the farmer is loyal to the price you can pay him. We had to make our business more successful and viable if we wanted to keep the farmer's attention. We knew we had to keep adding value to our product. Not just be a B2B business, business to business. We had to also be a business to customer business. B2C. And this was the creation of Cafe Blue. My brother was amazing at what he did. Growing coffee, processing coffee. And of course, my wife, after her experience in the financial world, knew so much more than we did in that department that we just left her to that. I had all the time to focus on Cafe Blue and build that business. Team. We knew we had to sell a cup of coffee to maximize its value. But we had to create a brand that Jamaican people believed in. A brand that ultimately was theirs. A brand that was 100% Jamaican. It took me about 9 months back and forth with the graphics team to create the logo for Cafe Blue. I said the logo is one of the most important aspects of our brand, and I want to make sure it captures the brand essence of Cafe Blue. If you look at the logo, you see the waves of the beaches, the waves of the clouds, the stars, the Dr. Hummingbird, which is our national bird and indigenous to the Blue Mountains. You see our C&B in the middle, swirls of coffee, everything in one cup. We embraced all the beauty of Jamaica in one circle. A brand built by Jamaicans for Jamaicans. We executed our first coffee shop in Irish Town, and today we have 7 coffee shops. The 8th to be built start next month. With the intention of opening several more this year and next year, and hopefully in the very near future, expanding into the international market. People ask me all the time, how do I feel about competition? I know that as a Jamaican, the guy on the line beside me is human just like me. Just the same way Usain Bolt felt when he was on the line, or Shelley Fraser. Just like how Bob Marley feels when he's standing in front of a microphone. Any other Jamaican who has realized they are as good as anybody else, we can win, and we will win. We will win by making our brands Jamaican, 100% Jamaican. One of the things that we realized is that we had to be consistent. You know, every time you buy a tasty patty or a juicy patty, it's the same. That's one of their great advantages. We want to make Cafe Blue the same experience every time. We used to buy pastries from different manufacturers and distribute them to our stores. It wasn't efficient. We had quality issues, we had challenges. I decided to make the move to move our operations again to a bigger location where I could centralize the operations. The distribution, the prep kitchens, and the bakery. We hired a baking team and we started to manufacture our own baked products. We set up a schedule where we taste our products every month and we compare it to the competition with the idea to make every product that we sell purely Jamaican
but also best in category. We're not competing, we're thriving. We're thriving because we listen to the customer and we deliver what the customer wants. But one of the things that happened with Cafe Blue is that we started to see where other opportunities lie. We used to import syrup to make coffee drinks. And you go to a cafe and you order French vanilla or hazelnut or caramel. These are all syrups. We used to import a syrup brand that we served in our cafes and sell to hotels. But the exchange rate kept moving. 90 to 1, 100 to 1, 105 to 1, 110 to 1. We realized customers were getting very frustrated. I looked at the bottle one day and it said, major ingredients, water, sugar, flavoring. So why are we importing this? Why are we importing this? Because we have become a culture of importers. We were no longer a culture of producers. I said, no, we're going to make our own syrup. I called a chemist, we started to test different flavor profiles, and we came up with one that we thought was the best. And then we came up with our own brand, Barista Island. This brand of syrup is now the #1 in the Caribbean. #1 in its category, made in Jamaica. It tastes better. It's cheaper. And it's healthier. If you compare what kind of ingredients they put in these products that you import, compared to Jamaica, we have 4 ingredients. They have 15. What do you think is in here? Preservatives, artificial flavors. Is that good for you? No. No. We were creating a product that was healthier. Everybody was winning. Everybody. Our employees, the company, and the customer. And guess what? The hotel thought it was an imported product. No, local. This started to happen with a number of products. We started manufacturing them, condensed milk, chocolate syrup, many products. We stopped importing. In fact, when we started making chocolate syrup, the syrup that we're using, and I have no problem saying this, was Hershey. They could not say chocolate syrup on the bottle. It had to say Hershey syrup. Do you know why? The cocoa content in that syrup was not sufficient to pass the test to be called chocolate. Yet all the consumers thought they were buying a chocolate syrup. Power of branding and marketing. Right, Mr. Hill? Yes, sir. I had been working with a pastry chef that was superb with chocolate. She was a consultant. And I said to her, what's with the chocolate? Why, where you learn to this? She said she had been trained chocolatier, she had gone to school in Montreal. I said, why don't we start a chocolate company? Jamaica has the best cocoa in the world. And you from Blue Mountain Coffee, when you take something best in class, you can be sustainable, because outside competition is not as effective, because other people can't go to make a Blue Mountain Coffee. You can only find it here. There was a competitive advantage. We dug in and we started to learn about how to ferment and dry cocoa and how to make chocolate. We bought chocolate from all over the world, went to trade shows, we tested, and we created our own chocolate brand. 6 years later, I'm proud to say that if you go into any supermarket chain in Jamaica, you will see the line of Cafe Blue chocolates. This is now the #1 selling indigenous chocolate brand. Same thing applies though. Only 3 ingredients. Any chocolate that you buy, go into any shop, Snickers, Mars, O. Henry, name one. 3 Musketeers, name one. Read the back. About 10 and 12 ingredients. What's in there? High fructose corn syrup. A lot of things that are not good for you. I'm not marketing Cafe Blue, guys. I'm saying to you, in Jamaica, we can produce better products than what we're importing. We can produce healthier products than what we're importing. And it tastes better. It tastes better. But we didn't stop here. We created a brand for the high-end chocolate market called Liquormore. Liquormore was created specifically for the hospitality and export markets to compete with the best chocolates in the world. Last year, this brand won 5 Taste Awards. What does that say? It says, in Jamaica, we can do it just as well as anybody else. We just need to focus. We need to believe. We need to work hard, be committed. We need to do our homework. And we need to be ready. We also created a line of chocolate products for the hotels. Blocks of chocolate that the pastry chefs use to make their products. Hotels that were importing containers of chocolate from other countries, produced in other parts of the world, manufactured in Europe, and brought back to Jamaica. Does that make sense? No. We're exporting our raw cocoa when we should be making great chocolate products. I hope we have some chocolatiers here. Brand them well. Customers believe in that. Brand your product and package it well. Today we're the largest manufacturer of chocolate in Jamaica, with the expectation to double sales in the year 2025. We want tourists, when they come here, we've left some little chocolate, what they call pillow talkers at the back when you're leaving, pick up one and try it. Small little chocolate. We're going to leave those on the pillows when guests come to the hotels. We're going to show them that Jamaica have the best chocolate, and that our farmers can produce cocoa, not just with pride, but can earn a living wage and grow our economy. I hear the government and successive governments talking about what a great job they've done with macroeconomics. And it's true. They've done a fantastic job with our macroeconomics. Or debt to GDP, or exchange rate, interest rates, all these factors, great job. But we're not growing. And the only way we're going to come out of this dilemma is to produce something excellent. This is great, but we have one principle that holds firm in our business. Whatever we do, it must be sustainable. We must leave our footprint better than we got it for the next generation. I came to visit the school on Friday. I was met by a group of students. I want to shout out to Rebecca, where are you? Rebecca, my fast bowler, Alva, where is he? Jashawn, you AI superstar, yes, I see you down here. And the next Prime Minister, our Prime Minister of the future, Landry. Fantastic kids. It was a tremendous experience for me to see what the future of Jamaica looked like. It's bright. It's bright. And they toured me the campus, and I saw where George's separates his garbage. Plastics are being put in containers, separated and clearly recycled. Fantastic. I applaud you. Carry it into your communities, preach that. We have to look after our environment. On our farms, when we pulp the coffee, we remove the skin from the seed. We use machinery that uses 80% less water than traditional machines. It's more expensive, but it uses less water. And the less water you can use, the less impact you're going to have on your environment. We then start to recycle that water. So we use the water twice. And then we created a water treatment facility that ensured that when the water was treated, we could reintroduce it back into the environment as we found it. Clean. No environmental impact. All of our plants are solar energy driven to reduce our fossil fuel usage. Our pest disease management controls are very specific. Every aspect of our business, we focus on trying to be sustainable. We have to leave a sustainable footprint. And as we move forward, that must always be in your consciousness. I wish St. George's another 175 years of developing great leaders for the future. You have done an amazing job. And I thank you so much for the privilege to speak to you this evening. I will cherish it for a very long time. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
I wonder if you knew that if you went to a business school and paid big money for your tuition, that you couldn't get this kind of presentation that you've had here. This one is something. And there are a number of aspects of it that I want to make sure are drawn to your attention. Did you notice that Jason Sharp told us a story and he never had a note or a piece of paper in front of him? No, he was telling us his story, right? But listen to me. Those of us in the church know about testimony. And when you can convince an audience, and I watched you, and he held you for the entire presentation because he was speaking honestly, he was telling you a story about himself. You want to be a success in life, you want to be persuasive in selling yourself, selling that product, then that's the kind of presentation you have to make. Secondly, I wonder if you noticed that while many of us are looking for the first visa and the plane we can take to go away, this man is vested in Jamaica. And he told us a story that didn't depend upon him being a highbrow man or from this or that class. Yes? He told us a story based on effort, based on enterprise, based on personal characteristics that he has brought to the business environment. He didn't tell us about luck, you know. In fact, he told us a bit about bad luck. Can you imagine driving to Montego Bay and then have to finally come back? Yes? And there were many other such instances of seizing the moment. I want us to learn lessons from what happened this afternoon. I want us to recognize another thing that he's told us the story about hard work. Not scamming, not a sense of entitlement, that because I've been down so long that I deserve to be first and up front, but rather hard work. Working his team, no doubt inspired by him and the members of his family. When the customer needed him to work, rather than say, boy, 4:30 gone, and I have to go home. You do what is necessary to please your customer. You don't think of yourself first. You understand that service is giving yourself to others so that you and they can benefit. There's some big attitudinal changes that are necessary among us and within our country. If in these most difficult international times, we are going to really survive and be proud. These are the lessons that I think we can draw from this. You notice that Jason Sharp told a story, his story, about starting very humbly at the bottom in a situation of failure after the hurricane and his father's business. Do we recognize that the only career, the only task of worth that you start at the top is when you're digging a grave? And so there are big lessons that I think we can learn from this occasion. I'd like to say a short word to the students here. Because some of us, have got accustomed to taking for granted our high school opportunity. And we spend a lot of time having red eye for the other school that we really would have wanted to go to, but we didn't get through. When we were granted independence, 2 years ago, 10,000 Jamaicans only had any place at any form in high school. And so before we despise our country and say, not now, go on here, recognize the extraordinary gift that is the bequest of the nation, of generations who didn't have that opportunity. To each and every one of us, because now in Jamaica, unlike many countries, we have an education system that offers a place of every Jamaican from age 3 to age 18. Don't ever take that for granted. Don't ever squander that opportunity. It is on the basis of his family and his education experience and the values that you get at St. George's, at JC, at Monroe, and all the other schools that are here. KC, yes? It is on the basis of that your character is formed, your skills are honed, and you can take advantage of the great opportunities here and elsewhere. One of the things that I noticed about Jason Sharp's story, which is unusual but very important for us to learn from, is that in his business, he moves from the primary producer, the person who digs the ground and plants the coffee, right through to the person who tips the cup or who eats the chocolate. That kind of vertical integration is what has been missing in the Jamaican economy since the days of slavery, And our future is going to be to create other opportunities like that, where in part or in whole, we have such a sense of the dignity that God has created in each of us, that we can band together, put aside all the isms and schisms, and come together in a team to make this nation great. What a treat we have had this evening. Thank you so much again, Jason Sharp. I have a last word of appreciation for Stephen Hill. Stephen Hill and I have something in common. Both of us graduated from St. George's College along with Patrick Terrell, I believe Dennis Charlie was next to us, and maybe one or two here 66 years ago. Can you believe that? Stephen single-handedly, and indeed leading a team, not single-handedly, leading a team, has put together this fantastic idea of exposing to you students what you would not get and which you have not got anywhere else, which is the richness of experience, not only in the business enterprise that Jason Sharp has told you about, but in every other field of endeavor. So keep coming to these lectures, these presentations that St. George's will be having. Stephen Hill had one great advantage over me when we were in school. Trevor Monroe and I had a disability in that our fathers were very different people, but they had one thing in common that Stephen's father and his brother Bobby's never had, and that our fathers insisted that we wear short pants until fourth form. Stephen had the opportunity of wearing long pants from first form, and I still ask the question, how you can check a alpha girl in short pants? Our thanksgiving goes to those members of the alumni of all of our schools who can come and share with us these rich opportunities. It's been a good evening. Thanks so much for being with us.